Hello, everybody. My name is TranceQuina, and I'm going to be running any Tales of Xillia, any percent Milla. Basically, this game, I don't know if any of you have ever played like Star Ocean 2. That game had like two stories where you could play from the perspective of one of two characters. Tales of Xillia is similar in which you get to play from the perspective of either Jude or Milla. I am going to be running Milla's side, which is not only the faster, but also much easier category of the two. Timing starts after you've set all of your configs. You set Survey Battlefield to off because it makes battles start faster, and you set attack input time to long for a specific combo that I'm going to be doing. It gives me more time to do it, and also you can set the button configs to whatever you choose. So we're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, now first off, I know we have a donation incentive for costumes for. Since we selected Milla's side, we instantly have Milla in the party. So I believe I was told that the current Milla's costume is Stan from Tales of Fantasia.
Yes, Stan from Tales. I think it's Tales of Destiny for Stan, right?
I'm sorry. That's the Jude one. My bad.
It's okay.
All right, so I just have to activate the DLC. Okay, this is the one. I'm just gonna activate all of them right now, just in case they get met later.
Yeah, just so everyone knows who's watching, this is a rolling incentive. So if you would like to change either Milla or Jude's costume at any time, you are welcome to do so. Currently, Milla is going to be dressed as Stan, and Jude is going to be dressed as Yuri.
All right, we haven't quite gotten Jude yet, but we're about to. First, we have basically a couple of tutorial fights where they kind of tell you how to play the game. Very important that you skip the tutorials, but we're just going to destroy them. So another thing about the costumes is that they actually change the battle music for certain fights. So keep that to basically battle music from the games in which the characters came from. So keep that in mind when those incentives. Alright, so those fights go pretty fast because Milla at this point is actually quite overpowered. She has the power of the 4 great spirits, and one I was using was Undine. And can hit an enemy multiple times.
Look at the size of this place. They must be working on something big. I mustn't relax my guard? Honestly, with all of you around, what is there?
Alright, so technically this is the first boss in the game, but we're basically the good luck, and I got a crit, so we actually one-shotted her with that.
Is that a freak? You are correct. The Lord of Fire.
I can't believe you were able to summon him.
So
so after this, we have to skip a tutorial for the Lilium Orb, which I will explain in just a second. So currently the leader for Jude is Yuri from Tales of Vesperia, which just recently on multiple consoles released. Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. Yuri actually does not have a hairstyle, so the normal hairstyle for Jude.
Aw, no long flowing Gary locks for Jude.
Sorry, that's just how the DLC came. Oops, I just messed up. But in fact, yeah. Oh, I just screwed up one of the menus because I'm stupid, but...
It's fine. You got this.
I have to do an additional orb menu later to fix that. Actually, you know what? I think I can just fight. I think I'm just gonna fight a few encounters for it. See if that. Actually, much XP, so never mind. Alright, so we got a few cutscenes here. Skip. So, in these cutscenes, Milla loses all her powers. Now she doesn't have the power to summon Undine anymore, so instead we're going to use Windblade.
I want to protect this world. It is home to those that are most dear to me. I'm sorry to have put you in this situation.
It's okay. Besides, I still owe you for saving me. I'll show you to the Sea Haven.
Dunmont, the city built upon...
After crossing the Central Plaza, turn right at the first corner. The Sea Haven is on the opposite side of the city from here. We need to go...
Alright, so after this cutscene, we're actually going to get a new party member, Alvin. And shortly after, we're going to be introduced to the linked art system. Character link system, which is unique to this game and its sequel. The game allows you to link two party members together. They can share certain skills. They share positive and negative status effects. Your party member takes 25% of the damage. If you are healed, the party is restored for 25%. Members restored for 25%, and you can use something called linked arts. See shortly.
Victory board for cooperation and friendship. Not bad, right?
Yes, I quite like it.
I feel much better knowing I'm not fighting alone.
Right there with you, buddy.
There's something I can fight here. Let's try and fix this. Probably should have just...
say that worked out very well.
I really had to improvise like this.
Well, while you're doing your quick, one second, is my audio coming through double?
Hold on a minute.
Okay.
The volume on my speakers.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to ask, while you're doing this little grind, do you mind if I go through real quick? I saw that we had a host recently, and I would love to tell our new viewers about what we're doing here.
My sword rings true.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, wonderful. Thank you all so much. Hello, everyone who just came in. I saw that Dragon Darch was so kind as to host us. This is our... Oh, thank you, Moobot. Even Moobot's on point today. This is RPGs We Love To. This is a speedrunning marathon only RPGs. We are fundraising here for the RPG Valkyries to help some of us get to RPG Limit Break in May. Two of our members, Sparkover and Silverfire, do have a run in RPG Limit Break. They're going to be racing Dragon Warrior Randomizer. So we're really excited that they managed to get in, and we'd love to send them and some of our other members who have backup runs or are planning to be volunteers to be able to kind of cover some of those expenses. If you would like to, we have plenty of incentives for you to donate towards. For example, for this run, we do have a rolling incentive to choose both Jude and Millia's costumes. So if you do not like Milla dressed as Stan or Jude dressed as Yuri, you can change that if you'd like. We also do have a additional incentive to fight the 6 devil beasts right now, and I will double check, make sure that my numbers are correct. That incentive is at $10 out of 120. We have about 3 hours to raise that money. So if you would like to see Queena here take on all the devil beasts, you can make that happen. And I think it's going to be an excellent run. I would love to see even more of it. So I think y'all can do that for us. And I hope y'all continue to enjoy the marathon. And Queena, I'll turn it back over to you.
Right. So now we have the tutorial on... Well, this is basically the tutorial for sub-events, but it's a required one. So they give you a tutorial on Overlimit, which basically allows you to use as many link darts in a battle together at once, as long as the gauge on the left is moving down in gold. Alright. So, basically, link darts are a special art that you can do with your party members when they are... And the gauge on the left reaches a certain level. It requires that both characters have learned a certain art, and what you saw me doing earlier is something you're not supposed to. Normally, we actually don't fight any regular encounters in the run, but because I made a menu mistake, I had to get Jude a level in order to get enough GP to activate the Soaring Vortex art, which allows him and Milla to do the aerial fire. But luckily, that's all fixed now, and hopefully we won't have any more menu mistakes for the rest of the run. Also, maybe the extra experience will actually help. Once the gauge is completely full, you can activate the Overlimit, which, if you've played a Tales game, you're probably familiar with that. Well, the way Overlimit works in this particular game is that it's not something that just randomly happens based on like in a hidden meter. Basically, it happens when your gauge up, which means you can only go into Overlimit when you have multiple party members, and then you have to activate a link dart with the gauge full to activate Overlimit, which allows you to use as many as you want, as long as the gauge is until the gauge depletes. You can chain link darts together, provided that they are not the same link dart. You can't use the same link dart in a single chain, and also do this menu quickly. And also, you can change party members in the middle of in the middle of the chain. What you saw me do there is set up Soaring Vortex, which is the art that I needed you to learn. And so, and that is going to be used quite a bit in the first hour of the run. And also, I set my strategies in auto items. Auto items are basically kind of like gambits in Final Fantasy 12. Basically, to set your auto characters to automatically use items without you telling them to. Conditions are met. Basically, you can set the priority in which items are used should multiple conditions, under which the AI can use items, how many items the AI can use, basically using items depending on your inventory, and also select which items are actually used. And from 90% of the run, we're going to be items for us. Also, the menu you saw me do earlier was the Lilium Orb, which is kind of like the sphere grid in Final Fantasy X, in that the game, as you level up, lets you which stats you improve and which arts and skills you learn, and basically you need to activate certain nodes, arts and skills that you need. As you level up, you gain GP, which lets you basically lets you activate nodes. So it's kind of similar to the sphere grid, but in FF10, but each character has their own orb, so they can only learn skills and arts unique to them. Now, the game gives you like a brief tutorial here on something called iFree treasures, which we're going to be getting a few of, which are important to the run, but obviously we're not going to be getting all of them. I believe in order to actually be able to obtain them, we first have to this cutscene. All the cutscenes in this game are actually skippable. Downtime in the run. So what you saw there was our first shop menu. Shops actually work differently in Xillia than they do in most RPGs. RPG, usually the way it works is that each town that you visit will have its own shops with separate inventory from other towns. There is basically one universal shop there. So the inventory that you can buy from this shop at the beginning of the game is basically what you can buy at the end of the game if you haven't expanded your shop levels, because the way the shop system works is that all the shops have levels, and they start at level 1 with very little to offer, and then in order to expand the amount of items that you have to level up the shops. The way you level up shops is by either from the shop, donating gold to the shops, just barely avoided that enemy. Or you do what I just did, which is donate materials, which can be obtained through gathering points like the bags. We're not going to be picking up any of those right now because their tab is like random each time you pick them up. So you could end up getting something completely useless. Picking up some chests early on that have fixed, which means they always have the same materials every time you open them in a run. There are 5 different types of shops in the game: items, weapons, armor, accessories, and food vendor. The only ones we're actually going to be leveling up are items,
Well,
weapons,
after you, milady.
and food. Items are obviously very important because we need to use items to survive boss fights. Weapons, don't use the weapon shop that much, but there are a few times in the game where we do want weapon upgrades, which is what I just got for Jude. Going to be using the most is the food vendor. Has a really good use in the run, but we get there because it's not actually used right now. So coming up, we have the first real boss of the run. It's basically some type of crab enemy called Greater Demon. He gives you a tutorial at the beginning on how to use chains, and overlimit, which we're obviously going to skip. Rely on Alvin's breaker ability to break his guard, and attack with Jude and fire with Milla while doing link darts. The game, since there is a tutorial for overlimit, the game actually lets you start with full overlimit. So you get to do a chain at the beginning of the fight. Guy is weak to fire, so that's why I turned off all of Milla's arts except Fireball, so that she'll use Fireball primarily, and also set her to Spirit Arts only, so she'll only cast Fireball. And we're using Aerial Fire since he's weak to fire, and that's the one that will Link Dart that will do the most damage. Another thing about characters linking is that when you link with a character, you have access to that character's partner skill. Alright, this is not going too well. But basically, each character has their own unique partner skill that will periodically happen. Oh, I'm actually linked with the wrong party member. Basically, you want to be linked with Alvin in this fight. Link darts with Milla, since he has the ability to break an enemy's guard. We've already lost quite a bit of items. Luckily, we haven't lost any life bottles yet. Should be fine. I'm gonna try and kill this guy without using overlimit. I have a full overlimit gauge. Might as well, since the fight was already going pretty poorly. But having that full overlimit gauge will help tremendously in the next fight. This DLC is a powerful thing.
Might I interrupt for a moment here?
Go ahead.
Hello, everybody, and this is Sparkover taking over for Skull Kitty. I hope we're having a lovely marathon so far. I definitely believe we are. I am just going to end this sentence for a sound test, because this is the first passing of the torch mid-run thing that we must do. So, how am I sounding, folks?
Sound good to me?
Fantastic. All right. Well, my first order of business here is we have a $10 donation from Biospark45. Thank you very much. saying matching donations until we hit Devil Beast. Thank you so much for the donation, and carry on.
We've reached the Town of Spirits, so basically what we have to do is go around town and pick up
That's the
these
Hollow
colored
Mine. It's a
stones.
special land where 4 spirit climbs meet.
Here we go. This must be one of the temple.
Correct. We need 3 more just like that.
There we go. All 4 temporal stones.
I appreciate your efforts. Let's bring them to the shrine beyond the village.
So I'm also picking up a few items right now just so I can sell them, because I need to have it's tight right now and I need some money to buy to try and get the most items I can for the next boss.
Wasn't Alvin with you?
No, I think he went back
Is
to the
the game audio.
There really is no place I feel more at home.
So now we have to go back to the village, but this is like the only time in the game where we actually have, or one of the only time in the game where we have to walk all the way back to a place, because we're about to get access to the world map, which basically gives you quick travel in this game. You can instantly place you've already been, unless there is a specific story trigger preventing you from warping. Actually, certain entrance in order to trigger a cutscene. Okay. All right, now I hope the game audio isn't so loud that you can't hear my voice. I really raised it now. Alright, so basically that's an example of the map warp town. Walk all the way there. Alright, glad to hear it. Oh, see, this is what I see. That's what I was talking about. Like, you have to actually walk ahead and trigger this cutscene before you can use the map again. Warp. Cutscenes actually have options you have to select, and if you skip them, they force you to select the option. There are actually a few cutscenes that are basically just options to select, which save time skipping them because you have to select the option anyway. Here we're actually going to start a little bit of a mini side quest, which not required to beat the game, but it gets us a very good that we're going to donate to the food shop. A lot of material points, but to get the material, you have to skip a few cutscenes in this side quest. Do skip them, but we're going to. All right, the cutscene I just skipped there is actually just a cutscene telling you about the 6 Devil's Beasts, which could be the game, but if you donate your money at the end of the run, anyways, we're about to pick up our first food item, which I mentioned was the shop we were going to be using the most. Food is a little bit different in this game than past Tales titles. In other Tales games, you had to buy like multiple ingredients, and then you had to give them to a party member and have them cook it, and depending on RNG, you would either successfully cook the item or you could fail to cook the item. However, in this game, basically, you buy packs of food from the shop, and then you use them from the menu, and then you get uses of that food for the next for however many battles it lasts. One of the uses of things the food can do for you is it can boost experience, and since we don't fight encounters during the run, we actually use these foods to increase the experience we gain from boss fights.
Our wounds are healed.
Did Elise do this?
Stay back, it's dangerous.
But wait, hold on. I can help.
This is a tutorial fight, which kind of explains what Elise can do. Elise has now officially joined the party.
A grand victory!
So, you saw Alvin's partner skill Breaker in the first boss fight. In the next boss fight, you're going to see Elise's partner skill, which is Tipo Drain. You're linked with her. Heal HP and TP to she's linked with. It'll be Jude, because we want her to Jude throughout the fight. Also, partner skills increase the link gauge. Didn't even need the orange gels.
I
Actually, I think I could have picked up one of them. I had 14. One. I'm just going to take one for marathon safety. Also, in this dungeon, you want to avoid like the shrooms because they actually damage your party. Ooh. So, what I was about to get at was that you don't want to get encounters. Obviously, if an enemy spots us, they're going to come after us. Now, avoiding enemy encounters is pretty easy when you're on like world map type screens because there's a lot of space. However, in certain dungeons like this one, the areas are very narrow, and thus it's actually harder to avoid encounters, especially if the monsters are in really bad spots. Also, you notice I'm climbing these vines. Well, there are a lot of dungeons where in order to proceed, you have to climb and jump. But if you are not like framed perfectly, like the place where you have to climb, the game will not actually let you press X and climb. Miss the X input, it can be really bad because if there's an enemy near you, it can attack you from behind and you will get a back attack. On what is one of, if not the hardest run, and that is Zhao. Zhao is very fast. He hits very hard. He starts the fight with 2 minions and has the ability to call more minions. He can your run. But we're going to use like this specific combo to try and keep Zhao under control. I will explain what's going on after the fight because during the fight I want to concentrate. So actually all I have to do here is move down. Good, yeah, he still gets stamina. Nice. Alright. Oops. Splash. Wind Lance instead.
No! I don't want to!
I'm actually gonna change it. No! Turn it on. Okay. This could be a wipe here. Alright. Switch you to a Windlance now.
Girls don't like pesky guys. Ain't that right?
Well, you're not much better.
Ouch. Keep that up, I'll sew your mouth up.
Alright, so what you saw me doing there was... what I did was I did like an up and soaring vortex combo with Jude.
Sorry to be
When you
such a
use
burden
soaring
back
vortex,
there.
they
I'll try to
go
be
up
more
into the
careful.
air, and then they'll either land on their back or they'll do an aerial recovery. And then when they land on their back or do their aerial recovery, you can do an up punch with Jude, and then chain that into another soaring vortex, and then basically rinse and repeat. Basically keep the enemy from getting attacks off. So I had Milla and Alvin distract the other enemies so that Jude could focus on doing the damage to Zhao. Soaring Vortex is also wind elemental, so it does Zhao since he's weak to wind. I'm actually going to buy some extra life bottles here, since I used a lot.
Sorry to be such a burden back there. I'll try to be more careful.
Wow, what a huge city! I've never been anywhere like this before. Hey, there's two... Milla, are you nervous about something?
No one's ever asked me over for tea before. Seems I'm a bit excited. I truly admire the dedication of these sentries to their mission, but if they stand in my way, I will have no choice but to cut them down.
Is it better now?
It's worth taking the time to do it right. With this strategy,
I'm just going to jump in for a moment here while it seems I have some time. Just a reminder that we've got a couple donation incentives for this run. We've got 2 costume incentives, and as well we have got defeating all 6 devil beasts, which is currently at 20 out of $120. If I believe I heard right, it should be at approximately 3 hours, and that the cutoff is for that.
Yes.
Yeah, we've still got about $100 left to go on that one, and about 2 hours and a wee bit left. So let's continue going towards getting our lovely Valkyries, including me, to RPG Limit Break. Thank you.
We're
all
so
lovely.
good together.
So this is
Alright, so here I'm just gonna finish up that little side quest I started to get that really good material. But what you saw in that fight there was the first use of Rowan, who is the most broken character in the game. He has the most broken spell in the game, and that is Fireball. Which ironically is the first spell that he can learn. Or that he gets it automatically. It's the first spell he has. Well, Rowan has this. Each character has this unique like do in battle when you're like actually controlling them. Special ability is art tuning. To enhance his spirit arts or spells in certain ways. You can do with Fireball with regards to art tuning is he can shoot balls with a cost of 1. And you can shoot them in succession. Also, Fireball homes. Enemy is directly across from Rowan. Fireball does a lot of damage. Could do, and Fireball can inflict the burn status effect, which get it, but when the enemy gets it, a percentage of damage to them intervals. Also, this game is played on semi-auto for a number of reasons. Probably the biggest reason of which is auto-aim, which every time... This is actually probably the worst place to get an encounter, because you're so underleveled, so it takes forever to... The rate at which you can escape is dependent on your party level. But anyways, what I was getting at is the game is played on semi-auto. It has auto-aim, which every time Rowan either finishes casting an art like Fireball or cancels an art with Guard. These butterflies have ridiculous hitboxes.
my thanks to you.
I'm gonna have to heal before the next boss. Basically, every time You either finish casting Fireball or another. No, This is really bad. This is the worst Permia Gorge I've ever had. 3 encounters on singles, or actually 2 on this screen. It's because, as I said, you have to be directly facing these vines in order to actually climb up. And if you're not, that gives the enemy a chance to back attack you. But basically, Rowan, every time you... Sorry, I keep getting interrupted by those encounters, but every time you cancel a Spirit Art or and cast another one, Rowan will then directly face the enemy he is targeting. So if the enemy is moved, Rowan will move his position towards the enemy. Also, it's used because it makes arts easier. If you're on manual and you try using an up art, you're going to jump instead. Important for Jude's up and soaring vortex combo, because that actually requires that you have soaring vortex set to up art, since you need to do an up punch, and in order to chain it properly, to be able to hold the analog stick in the up position while moving from your attack button to your art button. Ability to auto guard whenever you're literally just completely standing still. And now we have the next boss.
Might I scoot in for just a second here? Viewer asked, was there just a donation? Yes, there was just a donation. Margaret Ann donated $15. Thank you so much, Margaret Ann. Saying Warmech sounds like no more mech to me. And with that donation, we are at $1,200. Amazing. Thank you so much, everybody.
What you're seeing me do here is I'm basically casting Fireball with Rowan to do all the damage, while having Milla cast Splash to try and keep this boss under control, so that he doesn't move around as much. But this game has something called the Iron Stance mechanic, which you saw quite a bit in the Jow fight. Ooh, I got the burn. Basically, when a blue exclamation mark appears over a boss's head, they go into Iron Stance mode, which means they are going to
Quite the nuisance.
break your guard. They're going to break your guard. Or, I'm sorry, what am I saying? They're going to break out of whatever combo they're locked into, and they're going to attack. They're going to guard out of whatever combo you're in and attack. That boss went pretty well, so I'm just going to pick up some money here and warp back to the town. Coming up now is basically an unwinnable fight. It's important that you link Milla and Elise in this fight for that is going to come into play in the final boss fight. Ooh, I'm lucky that Elise didn't use one of my apple gels there. Really put right into the range of it just before the trigger to end the fight happened. So now we've been arrested and Milla is all alone. So we have to fight 2 fights with just Milla, but they're going to give us a lot of experience.
I'm going to jump in here with another donation. If this is all right, we have got $15 from Biospark45. Thank you again. Says 15 more for the devil weapons. We can do it together. Thank you very much again, Biospark.
Mm. I'm gonna destroy these 2 guards with a combo that uses
What do I do without you?
and flare bomb, which are basically spirit shifts, which is Milla's unique ability. She can cast like a short animation version of a spirit art.
I feel much stronger.
It's faster.
My sword will carve a path.
Also, these costumes sometimes have different victory cutscenes from the characters, which they were based on. So gonna pick up a holy bottle chest. Oh! Ooh. At least he was facing me when I got the encounter, so it wasn't a back encounter.
We've met. I want to protect this world.
Ooh, 20 seconds. I think that's the best I've ever had on one of these fights. So what's happening in the story is basically Milla is insanely dedicated to her mission, and she doesn't realize that she has electric cuffs on her legs, and that there's an electric barrier in which if she passes it, she basically electrocuted. And so what happens is a paraplegic. And now she can't walk anymore, so which means we can't use her in battle. Even though we're playing on Milla's story, the game actually forces you to play as Jude. And they actually throw a pretty 1v1 boss fight your way, not long after you're forced to play as Jude. You're going to use the same combo on this boss as we did on Zhao, because he's also a human, and he's also weak to wind. So we're going to do the up and soaring vortex combo on him.
Envy that.
Also happens to be the worst character in the game. Ew.
Over already? Getting...
Also, I've activated a holy bottle, which in this game makes enemies
If they start to hurt, just say
that are
so.
running towards you,
I appreciate
which
it.
can be very useful in some of those linear dungeons where it's harder to avoid encounters.
Choose.
Up shortly.
Very odd. When you carry me on your back like this, I can't help but remember flying with Syl.
How dare you allow this to happen? Shut up! I don't need to hear your excuses. I tried. I said shut
Oh.
up. It's time for you to pay for your sins, you bastard! Yeah, all right. Yep. Focus. Yep. Not yet. Terraspin. Great.
I'm actually just going to take a death here because I forgot to heal Jude's TP.
Great. Phantom edge.
Not good.
Luckily, if you die, the game just lets you retry. And it also lets you fix any menu mistakes.
How dare you allow this to
Or
happen?
they're fixable.
Shut up! I don't need to hear your excuses. I tried. I said shut up! It's time for you to pay for your sins, you bastard! Focus! Yep. Not yet.
Well,
Not how does Ari real power? How dare you allow this to happen? Shut up! I don't need to hear your excuses. I tried. I said shut up! It's time for you to pay for your sins, you bastard! Focus! 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 Steal! Focus! Dragon Fury! Phantom out now! My head. Focus! Focus!
I must fulfill my duties.
Now we've reached Jude's hometown, where we are going to recruit the final party member in the game, Leia. Leia has a number of different things she can do, but the ability of hers we're going to primarily be using is Sharpness, which increases physical and art damage. Our primary method of damage throughout the game is going to be Sharpness. Comes quite in handy for DPS.
They say that back during the mining... In this mine, we get to play a game where you just have to mash X to break these things. And since I suck at mashing, it's going to take me 3 cycles. An earthquake?
Right. This next boss we're about to fight is probably the most RNG heavy boss in the game. It has this really annoying ability to just and move around the field, invulnerable, any damage to him until he stops. And sometimes he can just come up and make you think he's going to stop, and he ends up continuing to troll. First phase usually goes pretty quickly because even though we only have 2 party members, he doesn't have as much health. Second phase, we get Milla back into the party, but he has much more HP, and I think he can... Actually, no, I think his moveset is the same in both fights.
What's causing these earthquakes?
I don't know. Let's just keep moving.
Jeez, why is this thing so darn big?
It must be using the spirit muscle as a source of energy. I can't think of any other explanation.
Let's just focus on beating it.
Focus! Focus!
Hey, looky here. Limbs turn to blades. Got it. Got it.
Focus!
Limbs turn to blades.
Focus!
Got it.
Focus! Focus!
Limbs turn to blades. Focus. Limbs turn to blades.
Focus! That's one!
Got it. Limbs turn to blades.
This is what I'm talking about, how he can just move around the ring and do this stuff.
Energize.
And waste time. You can lose so much time on this boss.
Got it. Limbs
Fault
turn
of
to
your own.
blades.
Not guarding, that move hits hard.
Won't stop me.
Obviously, you can make yourself guard, but I is not set to protect yourself, which Leia is not. They probably won't.
We're perfectly in sync.
The power of linking.
Or because we're childhood friends. All right.
If we must, I'll stop them in their tracks.
Please. Limbs turn to blades. Got it.
Focus!
Limbs
Focus!
turn to blades.
Please!
Limbs turn to blades.
Focus! 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 Let's do this! Focus! That's one!
That's like his worst attack that he can do, but since I was in a link dart, it didn't kill me.
Energize.
That attack can wipe you even from full health if you're not guarding, or in a link dart like I was. Also, when this is happening, you actually want to not be linked with anybody, because otherwise they tend to come near you and just get... So basically, I'm linking with Milla for most of the fight. Try and make use of her bind skill, which she doesn't always use, but if she uses it, it basically stops the taking any action for a short period, and thus could stop him from doing this. Actually, that went really well. 133 is very good.
Thank goodness you showed up, Milla.
It didn't happen on this run, though, since it's already pretty bad. Imagine if I got that fight when I was on PB pace. You guys got to see a great run. Great fight. So lucky. Got a bit of downtime, a lot of cutscene skips here, so can we get an update on that those costume incentives?
All right. For the costumes, currently, for the costume for Jude, we have Yuri winning with 250, and for Milla, we have Stan winning.
Okay, so no change.
No change to that yet. And also, since I am here unmuted, I am going to say that for the defeating all 6 devil beasts, we are currently at $35 out of $120, with just a little less than 2 hours to go on that incentive. So if you are thinking of donating to something, your time is running out for this incentive. And also, as a reminder, all the money raised to this is going to be going towards helping RPG Valkyries get to RPG Limit Break. Silverfire and myself have a Dragon Warrior randomizer race that will be done there, and a lot of the other Valkyries also take part by volunteering. So any donation is very much appreciated, and I don't have an ending to that sentence. Hello, I'm Awkward Sparkover. You're all fantastic.
We're gonna do the quickest sub event in the game. Basically, you just have to talk to someone and skip a cutscene, and you get a nice food item, which we're gonna use at the end. Then I'm going to use the map to actually warp back to the ship area, since it's faster than going back by foot. But when you do this, you actually have to walk backwards, since the game positions you like with your to where you want to go, as if you were coming out of that area. Basically, we got all our party members back. And the way this game works is that when party members leave and rejoin your party,
Oh, that's
their
so
experience is scaled up to however much experience you
Another
gained.
one scaled.
So any experience your party members gain that are in the party members that are out of the party,
You're embarrassing me.
basically gaining in the background. They all came back with upgraded equipment. Really why we don't use the armor shop at all and why we use the weapon shop very little. It's because the game will automatically update your equipment as you progress. Also, we basically set up what's going to be our normal battle setup as far as arts the game, although we are going to change it a little at the end. Better arts. Is going to be using splash to try and keep the enemies under control. Lisa is going to be using negative gate together and also to keep them from moving a lot. Leia is going to be using sharpness to increase DPS, and Rowan is going to be the main damage dealer with fireball. And you're basically about to see for the first time in this next boss fight.
You have got to be kidding me. You look really pissed off.
Sometimes you do have to move Rowan a bit to try and get away from the enemy so that he doesn't take too much damage and get killed. Because enemies can still kind of move out of this stun from splash and negative gate when they have the chance, as you just saw. What you're seeing me do is I'm actually, after the fourth fireball, I'm guard canceling with Rowan, and so that I can instantly start casting the next fireball. Get more fireballs out faster. Good fight.
We finally stopped it.
That was too close.
What caused this? I did not expect it to be that active. That wasn't...
Are we really gonna ride a wyvern? They sound really scary.
Human lives are short. That must be why they strive to preserve themselves as
Look at those giant ribbons.
such beautiful cloth designs. This is quite a fascinating culture.
Coming up next is a bunch of forced fights in the Coliseum. Basically, we fight these in a succession. They're basically regular enemies. For the first time, you're actually going to be seeing me use Wind Lance instead of Fireball. Wind Lance, when used with art tuning, can actually hit like all targets. Thus, you can do pretty good AoE damage. So, since these are not boss fights, the victory cutscenes are a little bit random, and so I'm actually going to link with Elise in these fights to try and get a instant. The way this game works is that once you've seen a victory cutscene, cutscene again, you can skip it. So ideally, we're going to link with Elise here to try and get that cutscene for the first time, so that if we get it again, I can skip it. Also, what you're seeing me do, saw me do there is, after Fireballs, I actually canceled with Rowan, so that I could towards the next target, since each Fireball was basically killing an enemy. I didn't want him to shoot fireballs at nothing.
All these statues seem to be of great warriors from eras past.
So when I get super strong, you think they'll make a statue of me too?
This is one of the instances where it actually splits your party up, and if you're on Jude's side, you go in one direction. If you're on Milla's side, you go in another. For some reason, the game puts Alvin in your party there because of the cutscene you have to watch on Milla's side. So I had to do that menu to swap him out. Also, these cutscenes are actually, like this next one isn't really any faster to just mash the text than to skip it. Because the game forces you to watch the battle transition anyway. It's been pretty good.
A most excellent rhythm.
Excellent.
So you're seeing me use Wind Lance for the first time here to try and hit multiple enemies at once.
Is fighting the only answer?
I'm just get.
This next fight can be kind of annoying. You don't get Elise in the party, so that's one less character you have to keep them in place. There are 3 of them. To use items if they want to and heal themselves, which wastes time and
So, why build a
makes
Colosseum
it
up
take
in the
longer
sky?
to kill them.
Sure.
And also, they have some pretty devastating attacks that, if they're close enough to you, can actually just kill you.
They look quite formidable.
No matter. We will end this quickly.
But look at their weapons. We should be careful.
It does not matter.
Okay.
I'm going to jump in here with another donation. We $15 from Absolutely Trusty. Thank you very much. Says, please punch devil baddies. That puts us at $50 out of $120 out of our defeating the 6 devil beasts incentive. Thank you so much.
That fight went pretty well. Now we've got some more walking to do. While we're walking, we're gonna pick up a few chests. Materials that I want to donate to the food vendor.
The Royal Hunting Grounds. An ominous name. Let us take care to be the hunters and not the prey. Sounds good to me.
Ow! This grass is super sharp.
Hello, I'm back again with another donation. Got $15 from Biospark45 again. Thank you so much. Says, keep the devil weapon hype going. And that indeed we are. What did I said? $50 last time. So now that means we are at 65 out of $120. We are halfway through this donation incentive. So keep it going, folks. We have got approximately another hour and a half until the cutoff for that incentive will be happening.
Use another holy bottle here. It's a pretty linear area, so it's a bit harder. Avoid encounters, although you still have to be careful because holy bottle can sometimes cause the enemies to do some awkward movement where while running away from you, they'll kind of move a bit to the side towards you while you're trying to move straight, and you can end up getting the encounter anyway. This is one of those instances where even though we've just been through this entire place, we have to walk all the way back up instead of using map warp because there is a cutscene trigger. You have to actually wait until you hear the door sound to skip the cutscene. If you pause before the door sound and skip the cutscene, you'll hear the door sound anyway and then have to skip it again.
Be careful. This place is crumbling down all around us.
It's as if no human has set foot in here for years.
Oh. Missed the input. But now we actually have a skill called Chicken Run, which makes fast regardless of what our character party level is. So we got through that counter pretty quickly. I just picked those things up because they have really good materials that I want to donate.
Oh, sure is cold. Holy.
Ooh.
Never call me Ellie
Just
anymore.
barely avoided that one. Now we should have enough materials to expand the shop to level 24, the food shop to level 24, which the spicy chicken roll, which is item for us since it basically doubles our experience in every fight it is used. And so we're going to get double experience from almost all boss fights going forward. Ooh, I forgot something. Alright. Just double check that we got the right stuff. Okay. So what you're actually going to see me doing here is I'm going to go to an area that I don't actually have to go to right now. But what it's going to do is it's actually going to create a restore point so that later in the game, when I do have to go to this area, I can map warp to it rather than having to run through an entire field. Because basically, if you've been to a location and then you reach an area completely through, but is connected to a location you've been to, the game just assumes that you've been through that exit for some reason and then lets you map warp. And also what you're seeing me doing is I'm auto leveling. I had to manually do Lily Morb at certain times. A couple of instances where I'll still do that. But for the most part, we're going to use auto level to just get all our orbs activated quickly. So I equipped it a water guard since this next boss fight is going to use some water attacks. And also equipped a morale support, which is going to set Tipo to on. Basically, Lisa's unique ability is that she can change from Tipo off mode to Tipo on mode. Tipo off mode enhances her physical abilities, and Tipo on mode enhances her magical abilities such as negative gate. So we ideally want her to have Tipo, and so morale support sets it so Tipo will always be on. So we're coming up on the first boss characters that can actually link with each other. This is the first boss fight where bosses can actually link and use link darts. We don't want to see the link darts, but we do actually want them to link because ideally we want them to share damage since, as I mentioned before, if two characters are linked, the link partner takes 25% of the damage the character takes. And also, if we can get a burn on one of them, both of them will be inflicted with burn. This is actually probably the fastest boss in the game. moves very fast. It's hard to target those fireballs at him. He can like move very, very quickly. Ooh, okay, that's all right. We got. It would have been really bad if Press was also dead, but we're gonna get it for backup. So everyone, we really want everybody to get experience because the experience route is very tight. And if they're dead, they will not get EXP. And if Wingle had been the only boss in that fight, both Milla and Leia would have missed EXP since they were both dead when Wingle took the final hit. Ooh, got the burn.
His hair completely changed. And his speech, too.
Has mana dramatically increased. There can be only one reason. A booster. No, that wasn't...
Mutton, fresh mutton. Oh, I forgot to do something, so I'm actually gonna take a death.
This is our home.
That's a menu.
Stay on guard. We're fending against the ruler of the skies. It will not be easy. It cannot be.
Die as quickly as possible.
Sorry, guys. I blew it.
Alright. If in that menu I was supposed to use a food item that doubles your EXP. Would have had some very big consequences if I continued the fight. All fixed. I do like how this game lets you go back into the menu if you die in a fight. Otherwise, you'd be in big trouble.
All right, we beat the King of the Skies! That makes me the new ruler. Should we call you Queen? On second thought, forget it.
All right.
Now the game is gonna make me go around town talking to people. Alright, now we're basically heading back to the place where we were at the beginning of the game. We're gonna head there by wyverns. Unfortunately, you won't get to see us ride the wyverns because we gotta skip cutscenes. Menu now, so I don't forget it. I think, yeah, I think I'll activate these. Vitality. Might as well just activate this as well. Ooh, she got a dexterity. That's actually pretty rare for her to have it at this point. Extra level. Basically what you saw me equipping there were like stat boosting skills. I mentioned earlier how linking with party members allows them to share certain skills. Well, skills that have like linking attributes basically will be applied to the character who equips them and any character that is with. Well, first of all, this is what one of those instances I mentioned earlier about how since we were beginning of the game and that map was connected to the FemMop, the game allowed us to map warp and skip that screen. But basically, link skills actually stack. So the characters both have a certain skill learned, they both have it equipped, and then they link with each other. They not only get skill that they have, but they also get the skill that their link partner has. In this case, for stat skills, so like if you have intelligence, which boosts if you equip a character with intelligence, which boosts their intelligence stat, and then link with another character who has the intelligence ability equipped, now you have even more intelligence. Even if a character a certain like stat throughout the run, usually it's best to just equip it anyway because they will be linking with a party member that could use it. After this cutscene, I'm going to map warp out of the dungeon back to the entrance of Fenmont. And we are going to fight the next boss. Be fire resistant. However, Fireball is still your best method of damage. Fireball is. Also, she's got a few minions to take out. And finally, in the game that can use a Mystic Art. Mystic Art, when you're in Overlimit, Mystic Arts, you're not really going to be seeing Mystic Arts since they're not really waste time, but bosses, however, who don't even need to be linked in order to overlimit, can use overlimits, or they can use linked Mystic Arts whenever they go into overlimit by using a certain arcane art, which you can see when a red exclamation mark is above their head. Alright, I'm taking these guys out. The other party members are not doing a good job of getting rid of them. Alright. Also, when a boss goes into Overlimit, I'm going to party members, because as I mentioned before, if a party member takes damage, their link partner takes a quarter of the damage, and if a party member gets inflicted with a status effect, their link partner also gets inflicted with the same status effect, and in this case, if Agria, who you may have recognized was the boss I completely destroyed at the beginning of the game, and is now more powerful, uses her Mystic Art on a party member, and I'm linked with that party member, I'll take the damage from, or a quarter of the damage that the party member took, but since the Mystic Art does so much damage, I'd probably die. Plus, I could be inflicted with burn. We got stunned. Alright.
What's wrong?
Milla, I don't stink, do I?
No, you're totally fine.
Ah! Did I ask you?
Yeah,
Oh,
that
Just keeps.
Also, our characters have a level restore, which means every time they level up, they get a full HP and TP heal, which is why you don't see me having to heal them very often outside of battle, because they're basically always leveling up from bosses. You're getting. We got 4 forced fights here.
My sword rings true.
I won't let.
There's your forced fights. First two are pretty standard, but the third and fourth fights can get kind of messy.
I guess just walking through was too much to hope for.
This won't be enough to stop us.
And as you can see, I was able to skip that victory cutscene because I had already seen it. A little time there. Actually going to restore our TP with this item that we got from the Hammerzam fight. Other than put myself in a bad position for this next fight where we characters have to restore TP. Those guys can kind of troll a bit, but we got through them. If we're really lucky, our party members might level up,
I can't believe
or at least some of them might level up in this last fight, and I won't have to heal before the next
This
boss.
isn't visiting. This is breaking and entering. Welcome.
I'm just going to jump in here for a moment. We are about 1 hour from the cutoff for our donation incentive for this run to defeat all 6 devil beasts. We are just past halfway at $65 out of $120. So I believe that we can get there.
Actually, we probably have a little more than an hour because I've had some pretty bad luck.
All right, fair enough.
So you've got time.
So you have 1 hour and 5 minutes, everybody.
Alright. Really. Any Castlevania fans in chat? Well, you're gonna like the dialogue at the start of this fight. So I'll just let you listen to it.
If you wish to fall from grace, then let it
But enough talk! Have at you! Oh, I meant Castlevania, because that quote you heard, or I kind of voiced it over, but what Noctigal said there was what Dracula says at the beginning of Symphony of the Night. This boss also has an interesting mechanic where if he goes into overlimit and starts casting a spirit art, and you're like spamming spells at him, it like delays the art. Alright, see if he... Alright. Ooh. This could be bad. Alright, we're not dead. Boy. Oh boy. Getting kind of messy. Alright. Nobody missed the XP, so I'll take it.
Noctigal, you have lost. I request that you stand down.
We're gonna get our third and final Ifree treasure in the run. This one actually has a really good skill called Impregnable Guard, which basically means your guard cannot be broken. And as you've seen with that boss, now a lot of bosses can use Mystic Arts if they hit an Arcane Art on a character. However, is guarding the entire Arcane Art, the boss cannot execute the Mystic Art. Unfortunately, it will only really work when a boss targets trolling with the Arcane Art, because you can't really control whether or not the party member, which is why when they're in one of these bosses are in overlimit, you don't want to be linked with a party member during the overlimit.
Looks like ominous clouds are gathering up.
And my old bones tell me it will be a heavy rain indeed.
I'm all
Just like that. We're at war?
Yes. And with tens of thousands of soldiers on either side, it looks to be a massive one.
I think I can actually get overclocked. It's pretty rare. Usually Rowan's not quite high level enough to get it. I'm going to do it because it might make these next fights faster. Because you can't actually control what path the auto takes you on. Alright, so what we're going to have here is basically like a series of fights, but all these fights count as one single fight. As you get from all the enemies you're going to kill is going to be added up and given to you at the very end, which means
Wow! You can
use a food item.
Don't splash mud on me!
It only counts as one food item usage. So since I used a spicy chicken roll to get double experience, I'm going to get double experience for all of these enemies that I kill. The biggest use of Windlands that you will see in the run, since there are so many, since all these battles are going to start with like multiple enemies on the field. Also, while enemies start on the field, as you kill enemies, more enemies will spawn. It's important to make sure that Rowan's actually targeting an enemy when casting Fireball, so that you're not wasting time. And what you just saw me do there is I basically canceled Rowan's spell as soon as I knew that the enemy was gonna get killed. And sometimes what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be basically storing a spell, and then after redirecting Rowan, casting it instantly so that it hits the next target when enemies get killed.
Let's make this quick.
I'm right here with you, Milla!
How can you keep putting your life in danger like this? Don't you realize you'll throw everyone's lives into chaos if you end up dying?
What's that?
Nothing. Better stay focused on the battle.
Are you ready?
Also, what you'll notice is actually the enemies actually fight among themselves sometimes, where they'll actually damage each other. Since in storyline, like, two nations are like at war, and we're kind of stuck in the middle and fighting both sides.
I'm counting on you.
I have your back. Don't worry, I can do this. What? How about this?
Just barely avoided my fireballs. Right spot.
Let's hope this ends. We're so damn close.
Hey, are you okay?
Come on. This isn't enough to take me down.
Alvin, are you sure you're alright?
What I lie at a time like this?
Well, I don't know.
That part of me is gone.
I'm sure that's a lie.
Gotta be serious sometimes.
Hey, come on, guys. Less talking, more fighting. I'm here.
So close. Are you all right? So this is war. There's nothing but a sight that comes down the trees of lives for you. I take no pleasure knowing most of my years were on the battlefield. And despite my efforts, I travesty continues. Wait, you can't give up. You'll find a way to stop all of this. All right, of course. Our destination is just up ahead. Let us make haste. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Damn it. Just leave us alone already.
If only battles could be ended by simply asking. We can always wish.
Don't worry. I got your back, Elise.
No one asked for your help.
You should be alright with that much energy.
I'm out of my way.
Leia, don't rush forward lest you be completely surrounded. Things are not looking good, Milla.
I know. We can't retreat. We must keep pushing onward.
I'm here.
Hang in there.
This is the last fight, and it's actually goes remotely faster than like some of the others. Not as much enemies spawn in this last one.
Can you still keep up?
Of course. There's so
Nooster, any percent Milla means that on from Milla's perspective, the game lets you play from the perspective of one of two characters. That like if you have too much of an item and then you select, they don't let you have 1 in 15. Then if I select, they default you to the back option, which unfortunately means I wouldn't have gotten the other item, so I had to select it again. That's basically it. Oops, looks like I forgot to menu, but fortunately I still have the food item usage, so we'll get through it. Not a big deal. I'll just do it after. Good thing I equipped it overclocked early.
Don't blame us if we die.
Now that's not very nice.
Like you're one to talk. Doesn't matter who's getting in our way. We will carve our path forward.
I want to take out Wingo first here. This is probably one of the could be potentially a messy fight. I mean, it's pretty can get dangerous at the beginning because you have to fight 3 enemies. Luckily, they don't actually have that much health. The game lowered their health since you have to fight 3 of them, and then once you take out 1, it gets easier since you have less enemies to deal with. Alright. Really like a burn right about now. Okay, I think I have to burn. Alright.
As expected from the Chimeriad.
Can't imagine fighting them all at once.
We'd still win, no matter what.
That's right.
As long as Milla's around.
Yes, I just keep.
Wrong button. Okay. Actually, I don't have him yet. Alright. To win this next fight. And he's pretty hard to beat. We're actually going to die on purpose, which is also why I swapped Alvin in there. Developed his Lily Morb at all. So he should die pretty quickly. Also, I'm going to do another part of the manip for the final boss that I mentioned earlier.
Guys, in the name of the Great Spirit, I shall defeat you.
You underestimate me.
And yet, do you think you can handle us alone?
I think you're underestimating us. You're all getting ahead of yourselves. Witness what humans are truly capable of.
You don't scare us.
Alright. That could have gone a little better. But I actually linked Leia with Milla there as part of the manip. Also, I turned off auto items so that they wouldn't heal themselves. Yeah. Intentional death. Because if you die in that fight, the story just continues. So this is one of those instances, the major separation in the Jude and Milla sides are in separate areas, separate bosses, depending on which one. First, we got this force fight, which should go pretty quickly.
Far too easy.
Actually equipped it a skill that I normally don't have yet, but since I had those extra levels from the Chimeriad when I did the menu, I was able to equip earlier, and that's HP Surge. We're gonna get another one that's similar later called TP Surge, and basically what those skills do is when you get and is revived by a life bottle, they will be fully restored to full HP and TP, reducing the chances of them getting killed again right after. So Also, this time in the run, you're actually going to see me picking up those bags and that you've seen on maps earlier, but I've kind of ignored because now I want to pick up to improve Milla's weapon later. Because as I mentioned, your party members join, they get upgraded equipment. Always in the party, she never gets automatic equipment upgrades, so we don't really bother much with her armor. Few instances where we just use the armor that our other party members had come with earlier, but we obviously have to improve the weapon shop in order to give her a better weapon.
Feel the beat
And ride the rhythm.
all the way to victory.
I'm just
I've so far not been lucky because I got galled. Ooh, I got a monster fluid. That's pretty good. Money, I mean, at this point in the game, we don't really need to worry about it as much. We've got so much money now. Money was much tighter earlier. Now we really just want to get materials. And if you haven't noticed, we're in a fire cave. All the enemies, including the boss we're going to fight, fire resistant. And guess what the best edge is? Oh, the biggest damage dealing ability we have.
With a disciplined mind, even flames can feel cool.
So you say. They seem plenty hot to me.
I'm sweating out of like every pore. I feel so disgusting.
Oh, indeed. I'll be happy when we leave this.
Take these guys out first, and these guys are actually weak to fire, ironically. Although he can call more minions, which are resistant.
Do this.
The only thing about this boss is that he's kind of fast. Oh, we got a burn on him. Really good fight.
Ugh, it's like I got fried.
My mustache has singed as well.
I'm sorry. This is my fault.
No, that's not true.
So this is a...
Oh, now you're gonna see why I went to the Xillian Woods Temple earlier. We get to skip this next map. Oops, looks like I forgot to buy something.
All right. Now this is some pretty nice gear.
Probably not
You really
worth
are
buying,
getting it.
but at this point, but for marathon safety, I'll get it. Conveniently, there was a shop right here. Alright.
As I always say, it's the gear that makes the man. Well, after one scarf, of course.
That's
Coming up on what is probably the hardest enemy in the game to
The snowfall
An
sure is
encounter
getting
with?
heavy.
perfect weather.
because even with the holy
Infiltration.
bottle, he tends to sometimes block your path into the next room. So if he blocks you, it's actually faster to take the encounter than it is to wait for him to despawn. So I would have had to just wait for him to despawn if I didn't just take that encounter.
I'll stop them in their retreat.
Just depends on what direction he decides to move.
Milla, the castle is this way.
Thank you.
What? Oh! I missed all those fireballs. Lucky.
Victory. Well done. That wasn't too...
These are just some quick fights we have to get through.
Well, I'm just going to interrupt for a moment here. Natara, thank you very much for raiding, and welcome everybody coming in with Natara. It's a lovely marathon we've got going on here. If there is a list of people who have runs or going to RPG Limit Break, there is definitely the list on rpglimitbreak.com. But of course, for, the sake of plugging myself and the lovely Valkyries, myself, Sparkover, and Silverfire are going to be doing a run of Dragon Warrior Randomizer at RPG Limit Break. And of course, this marathon is helping raise money to let us be able to attend the marathon. And we actually are coming up. We have probably a little less than an hour left on one incentive that is coming up, which is defeating all 6 devil beasts. We are currently sitting at $65 out of $120. So please consider, if you want to meet that incentive, get it in soon, because we don't want to be missing out on that.
So, kind of like in Charlton earlier, the game is forcing you to go around talking to party members. And then we have just one more fight before we move on to the jazz ship. It plays the boss fight music, but it's not much of a boss, as you'll see.
Ready, T-Bone? Turn to blade. Am I too strong? Just the strongest?
I love it too, Natara.
Ready, T-Bone? Turn to blade.
Nice! Best fight you can get there is when you can kill him with one wind lance. And now we are on the ESS Zenithra, also known as the Jazz Ship.
I'm so hungry.
As I think the Wandering Mind,
Make me something.
in her splits when she used to run, that she's apparently planning to go. Promised I'd give her a shout out. This is probably the hardest for anyone who wants to run this game. This is probably the hardest
Alvin, then you must
learn how to
have been some kind of
navigate.
celebrity if you were on
But
a
usually you
ship
just
this
have to
grand.
press left. Although I am going to be going in some different directions at some point to pick up some more materials, as well as a very good accessory item. You haven't really seen me using accessories much. Haven't bought any. I equipped the night crest that I got from a boss fight to increase Rowan's crit chance. Yeah, so far. One is going to be very useful for what is probably a really scary fight in the run. Also, you'll notice that there are no enemies around here. The way this dungeon works is that, like, in the first few rooms, the enemies always appear. However, in these rooms, they don't appear until you from the guard saying he has infiltrated the port sector. So when you hear that alert, it means that the next time you enter a screen, they're going to appear. So that's why I don't actually need to go just yet. I can get more usage out of the holy bottle by waiting. Basically, to activate 2 generators and then go back to the room you were in at the beginning. I picked up there, it's a reverse style. It allows the character wearing it to revive automatically from KO once, and then the reverse style is used and lost. That would be very helpful for an upcoming boss fight. Alright, so that's the second reactor. So now we can go back, but first I'm going to pick up a chest with materials.
Central hall.
So I'm still picking up some of these gathering points. So there you have
He
it.
has infiltrated the port sector. We need to reinforce the port side defenses.
Alright.
Port sector, roger that.
Still get this. Alright. Still got the chest. I got the alert pretty early. Like, there's like an in-game timer that is rolling while you're taking steps. The more steps you take, the more likely it is that you're going to get the alert. However, it's actually random how many steps it will take before the alert happens. A good movement, but I kind of, even with going out of my way to get a few things, but I still got it pretty early, unfortunately. So now I have to be a little more careful, even though I do have Holy Bottle.
How big is this stupid boat?
I watch out for running right into the enemy as they're avoiding me. Alright, okay. This one's, oh. Alright, we got through. These next 2 rooms, though, even if you don't get the alert, it is possible to get through the whole thing without ever getting the alert if you're lucky. I went out of my way to get a few things. It's pretty much impossible on this route. Oh, we have another potentially. See, as these bosses can link. Very dangerous link dart. And Gillen just has a very dangerous beam attack, so we want to take out him first. Ooh, we actually kind of do want them to link, even though they can do that link dart, because they can actually only use the link dart when they're in over limit. Even if they are linked, they will not be able to do the link dart if they're not in over. At least one of them is not in over limit. And so we want them to be linked ideally to share damage, as well as possibly to get a double burn. That's exactly what we got. Nice fight!
A power matching that of the Great Spirits.
The power of Spyrite.
Doesn't matter. Gillen's ambitions end here. I just keep...
So, after I skip through these cutscenes, I have the second major difference, I mean really only the second, between Jude's side and Milla's as far as separation goes. Because now Milla is all alone and is the only party member. Although now we actually have the power of the 4 spirits again, so we can use that you saw me using in the first few fights. Which is going to be used heavily in the next boss and throughout the rest of the run. The game doesn't even give you much of a hint of where to go. Just says to want, literally. Just says go wherever you want. Try to pick up enemies. I'm sorry, did I say enemies? I meant materials. We're actually heading towards Niakara, even though we can't go through there right now, because we want to create a restore point that we can warp back to with the map. We've been to all these locations, since this is considered a separate, like, universe from the normal one.
Say one more word about that, you'll be telling this
Versions are considered different. Ooh, I just missed picking up that, And so, since they're considered different, wasn't recognized as having been there, and so we have to revisit all of them to get them on the map. Went to Niakara there, because if I didn't, I would have had to, after I walk all the way to Eladi Sea Haven to progress the story, I would have had to walk all the way back Niakara. Or I think you could warp to this area, but you'd have to go through this dungeon, which is slower than just going there. Point. Also, I don't have bottled efficiency, which is a skill Leia has, so my holy bottle's not going to last as long. And I don't have chicken run, back support, so I can get back attacks, and if I get an encounter, the escapes are going to be kind of slow. Right. I see that one. Just getting it.
I like this town. That's why I always make their fruit so sweet.
Alright, now we finally made it to Eladi Sea Haven. So we gotta skip a few story cutscenes, and then we can warp back to Niakara. So this next boss is dangerous fight. It's a 1v1, Milla versus Muse. Called Sharpened Whips, which can kill you from full health if you're not guarding. She can overlimit. She can use the Mystic Art if she hits you with her Arcane Art, Elemental Hymn, and you're not guarding. And she can also, in overlimit, cast Sunburst. Probably the worst art a boss can use, since it's a dangerous AoE. It's pretty much unavoidable since it hits the entire field. And even if you magic guard it, move after the the fireball has been sent into the air and literally just combo you to death. Ooh. You're right behind us.
All right, folks, I am just going to toss out one more reminder here. Our donation incentive for this run will be cut off pretty soon. I was told 3 hours, but I believe we are slightly behind that right now. So we are $55 short of our $120 incentive to defeat all 6 devil beasts. So if you were planning on contributing towards this cause, now would be the time to do so.
I'll rip you apart.
Elemental hand! Elemental hand! Fire throw! That's enough!
My sword.
Am I strong?
The reverse doll because it automatically revived Milla after she died. Now we gotta climb up this area, after which we will be reunited with our party members for another boss fight, and our party members will come back high-leveled and also with very, very strong equipment. The boss we're gonna fight is Maxwell. Change his elemental weaknesses and resistances. Fortunately, he always starts weak to fire, which means fireball, at least at the start of the fight, will not do as much damage. Water at the start. which means Undine, which we're now going to start using with Milla, will do more damage. Also, we're going to start using Dreadwings with Elise. Oh, that was really unfortunate placement. I think I mentioned earlier that these butterflies have ridiculous hitboxes. Literally, like, positioned... Even though I have a holy bottle, it was, like, positioned, like, right at... to get off from those vines. We're going to start also using Dreadwings with Elise, which does a lot of damage. Doesn't tend to move around a lot. However, he can use a pretty bad Mystic Art, and he can use Sunburst, so we do have to be kind of careful.
This is it. We use the light here at the...
And I feel the need to just jump in here. We have gotten a $56 donation from Not Cupel, and if I mispronounced your name, I'm really sorry, saying Yahoo Devil Beast. Thank you so very much. And with that, I will be informing you that we have reached the donation incentive, and you will be defeating all 6 Devil Beasts.
Thank you for your donations. Sure, you're going to love those fights.
Everyone, there is nothing to fear, even the great Maxwell.
How can this be? Nothing is impossible with Milla. You were the only one that didn't see that, Maxwell.
I heard a voice. It called out to me and said, Milla.
Alright, so now we've only got one more boss before we will fight the Devil's Beasts. First we've triggers to get through, and then one... This next boss isn't really too hard.
I'm quite impressed with these.
I don't know. You were pretty strong to begin with.
This city is made of stone and metal.
This is the Olympian city of Triglyph. Welcome, visitors from Riza.
You look really great, great, Rowan.
Why, thank you. I suppose it takes a gentleman of considerable years.
We have
to
a
pull off a look as splendid as
$25
this.
donation from Teful, says, put this towards fighting Warmech. And I may as well take this time to note that that is our next unfulfilled donation incentive coming up. That is for the Final Fantasy randomizer race. We are currently at $60 out of $100 for that one. Thank you so much for your donation.
So this is the world that Maxwell cut off and left to die. And yet, I can't help but want to save it.
This lamp is casting light without channeling spirits.
Perhaps that cable is somehow conveying luminescent energy to that lamp. What a dreary landscape. I can't believe the size of this facility. Everything in Olympias is so grandiose.
It's like a city in and of itself.
The reason I'm kind of adjusting the camera like this is because sometimes it can be hard to see enemies that are directly in front of you from certain angles, and you can end up getting an encounter with an enemy that you couldn't see. I've made that mistake. I'm trying to avoid it.
I'm not afraid of the dark. Do your worst.
We're counting on you, Elise.
I'm still scared.
Hey, get off off me.
Alright, so this next boss is Vault. It's pretty that's easy. However, he can slow the fight down by bouncing around. He can also inflict burn. And he's also resistant to fire, but that really doesn't matter. Not only is Fireball still a strong move, we have other moves that do really good damage, including Dean, which he is weak to. Yeah, I remember that show on Nickelodeon. Burn. Nice fight.
Okay, we finally stopped it.
Everyone all right?
Yes, somehow.
All the electric shocks may have helped my blood circulation.
All right.
They were making a few Nickelodeon shows. Alright, so now that we've defeated Fault, really all that's left is the final dungeon, but thanks to all of your great donations, we are going to be fighting the 6 Devil's Beasts, which I'll kind of explain in a second.
My stomach seems to be empty again. When do we eat?
Again with this one. Good performance, but terrible fuel efficiency.
Basically, if you've ever played a Tales game before, you're probably familiar with the term Devil's Arms, which are basically for your party members. The damage you can do with them is dependent on how many enemies that the character wielding it has killed.
Yeah, but I wouldn't expect to see a big forest anytime soon.
Till that happens, they're not really that strong. Usually, and not only that, but usually there's like a storyline boss or an optional boss that you have to kill in order to unlock the true potential of them. We're not actually going to be defeating the boss that power of the Devil's Arms. That has to be done in the post game, and he's really difficult. Fighting the 6 bosses that give you the weapons, which are the Devil's Beasts. Technically, you can challenge some of them earlier in the game, but if you like a few of them were in areas that we've already been to. However, they're super high level, and if I had fought them earlier, I would have just gotten wrecked. Doing them now that we're very high leveled. Gonna come here to trigger a cutscene. Skip before we move on to the first Devil's Beast. This first Devil's Beast that I'm going to fight is actually hidden in a secret dungeon. So, for this one, I actually have to solve a puzzle in the dungeon before I can fight him. Only one that requires this. There's another one that you have to walk a little, actually, this is really the only one that takes time to actually get to. The other one I was thinking of was the one that now appears in Heliaborg Fortress, but since we beat Volt, now the elevator is active in that location, so we can just move up to the level where he's on. We actually have to get through the dungeon. Also, even though I have a holy bottle active, enemies are coming after me. The reason is because whether or not the holy bottle actually works on enemies depends on your party level relative to the level of the enemy that you're near. Your dungeon The enemies in this area are really high level, so even though I'm at a high level at this point, the holy bottle is just not going to work. What you have to do to proceed in the dungeon, you have to get under these crystals so that they'll crack. You have to jump on these glyphs that appear from a very high altitude, as you're going to see me do right now. This one was basically given to you to do in the dungeon, but you actually now have to find the crystals and glyphs yourself for the next 3 screens. So when this holy bottle wears off, I'm going to wait until just before... Wait a while to use the next holy bottle. Until just before the next boss. The next menu. Because I'm going to be using a food item which boosts attack and defense. And if I get into an encounter, since it actually takes... Since the food effect actually takes place at the beginning of the fight rather than the end, like the experience boosting ones, the food usage, if I got an encounter, food is in effect. So that's why I'm going to wait until after I've gotten to the very end of the dungeon, just before the first Devil's Beast, to use it. So I don't, if I do get an encounter, any food usages.
You're so slow, Leia. Climb faster. What? Am I holding up the guy who can float?
It's actually, yeah, it's over here. Alright. You actually have to jump off in, like, the right spots. If you don't jump off in, like, a specific spot, you can end up missing the glyph. Again. Luckily, this dungeon isn't as narrow as some of the others, so it's easier to avoid encounters here. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. I must have just missed it. Alright, we got it that time. Alright. There's actually a chest before the boss with an item called an Omega Elixir, which will fully revive and heal the whole party. I'm gonna pick it up for safety. Okay.
It's getting darker. Everyone, listen up for signs of enemy movement.
Heck yeah! Fruity Noodles conquer all!
Leia, if
This one can actually has a pretty bad sweep attack that he can use. It has quite a bit of range, so you want to be far from him if possible. So you may not. There are times when you actually do not want to be linked with him with another party member. That's pretty bad. Turn in Omega here.
Let's turn to blaze.
Well,
This can't be
well
good.
played. This cannot be.
Whoa. This can't be good.
oh,
Run!
Well played.
Sorry, guys. I blew it.
Cannot be. Well played. Well played.
stick out the burn on him. There, we got him.
If only I could use more. I can't.
Fortunately, I had to burn an Omega Elixir again. Luckily, there's another one I can pick up. Because we're going to do this next Devil's Beast. Omega. Also, I'm going to equip it for better damage. Oh, still the wrong way.
I've no excuse for my performance. Age must have dulled my combat skills more than I'd realized.
Alright, so this next one is at the top of the elevator here in the same room where you saw me fight Bolt.
Guys, he looks pretty angry. Totally.
It has quite a conviction, wielding such power in its current state.
No, that is not conviction. It's merely hanging on to the bloodlust of war. We can only help by ending its misery. Are you ready? Are you ready?
This guy also likes to go underground sometimes. Trollish.
I want to protect this world. I knew I
Just keeps.
Not really worried about characters getting experience from these fights since I know I can beat the final bosses than this anyway, since I'm actually some time. Oh, I didn't equip it there though. Heal from the cutscenes here,
I don't understand. The spirit fossil came
which
off.
we have
How
to
is
do to
he-
progress the story. Do them now since it's convenient. You don't really need to take safety saves up before bosses because the game actually lets you retry a boss fight if you die. Not only that, the game actually lets you go into the menu for retrying the boss. Oh, basically we're entering where the final dungeon is right now, but to get to the other Devil's Beast, we have to return to the previous world, which is Rizamaxia. So we're just going to pass through this to get back to the world where they are. I picked up another Omega elixir there. And I was just checking the map to make sure I didn't miss it. Doing the Devil's Beasts for Milla, Rowan, and Elise first. Oh, why do I keep going that direction? And get their weapons earlier and make use of them earlier. And after a few more of these bosses, gonna make a brief detour on items.
That's one big pack! I think it looks kind of cute.
No, this is not the time or place for that kind of thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
This one is weak to Shadow, so Elise is gonna do a lot of damage to it.
Let's focus before it actually...
In fact, they intentionally made him weak to Shadow since he carries Elise's weapon. To make it seem like Elise is the one killing it. She kinda is. He's pretty fast.
Well played. We're becoming predictable. Are you ready? Not the best of my performances.
This one's actually weak to fire, so Rowan's doing heavy damage to him.
Who knows? Maybe it's worth something.
I guess we'll find out soon enough.
Fortunately, since Milla has to be like close to the enemy to do her attack, Undine, she's actually most likely to get killed here. That was a really good fight.
For an old...
I
30 seconds we wrecked that Devil's Beast. Probably familiar with this area from the beginning of the game. This time it'll be easier to avoid encounters since I have a holy bottle. Level than them. Here earlier saw me get 3 encounters in this dungeon. It was awful. Next two Devil's Beasts are actually kind of easy. Compared to the ones we've already killed. The last one is really easy. I can teleport, but that's about the only annoying thing you can do. Dodge our attacks.
Well played.
As you can see, literally any boss is vulnerable to status effects like stun and burn.
Well, then the day's now. All right.
I'm just going to poke in here for a moment to remind everybody that RPGs We Love, this fantastic week of RPGs, the marathon, is being held to raise money for the RPG Valkyries to attend RPG Limit Break in May. Silverfire and myself are going to be racing Dragon Warrior Randomizer there, and it's going to be very exciting. I'm very excited to be showing off Dragon Warrior Randomizer to a very large community. I'm sorry, my words, they went away. And as well, a lot of the other Valkyries like to contribute by volunteering. We're all looking forward to it, and we thank you so much for all of the support so far. You are all fantastic.
Right, the last one is hidden in this side dungeon, but this won't take even a fraction of as long as it took to get through the one for the first Devil's Beast, because the boss is literally right here. Okay.
Just not underestimating it.
What? Are you saying my skills are weaker than this beast?
Leia, I advise you to redirect that anger towards the enemy instead.
It's kind of like Maxwell in that he can change his resistances and weaknesses. And just like Maxwell, he always starts weak to water and resistant to fire. Also has the ability to summon like minions. And that's all of the Devil's Beasts. And they give you the skit to basically tell you what to do to how to power them up. So to heal up here. I'll just use her art. Restore TP anyway. Now, you're going to see me really develop Jude's orb because in the final dungeon, the game actually forces you to play as Jude. Even though we haven't really used Jude much since the beginning of the game, you're going to see him be used again. Because we have to. Time to head to the final dungeon. First, we have Wingull. This time, he's by himself, so he's not much of a pain. Although he can troll by going to Overlimit and using his Mystic Guard. His Mystic Guard is also basically a guaranteed one-shot. And look at that, we got instant Overlimit. Oh, great game. Right.
We shall defeat you and proceed onward. Are you ready? I wish we had met under different circumstances.
Rowan. Oh,
Not just keep.
Alright, and now the way this final dungeon is designed is basically as alone as whoever your protagonist is, which in our case is Milla. This whole dungeon, or part of it with just Milla, although Jude will join us. we're gonna basically have a 1 and 2 character party through this final dungeon, which is not that long. Music too. Picked up an hourglass there. And that basically freezes enemy actions for a few seconds. So it could be useful in a dire situation. And while we haven't used link darts that much the first hour of the run, them in the last 2 boss fights.
My sword will carve.
Okay. So next we have, but this time we have 2 characters instead of 1, so hopefully it'll be a little easier. So I still have that Omega Elixir I picked up. Didn't have to use it on any of the Devil's Beasts. So the one I got from the optional dungeon I had to burn immediately.
I suppose you won't just step aside for us.
Unfortunate.
Why should
That's Link Seal. Ooh.
I follow any of your requests?
Very well then.
Right here with
I don't understand. Why are you always treated differently? Why is it always you?
please.
I get an overlimit here.
That's 1. Let's go. Here.
How dare you?
Large blitz. Let's go.
Let's fight.
We shall
Pass.
I need more.
Now it's on to the final boss fight. Now this final boss works on a timer where you start with Jude and Milla, and then as the fight goes on, your other party members join in. Now, you may have remembered me talking about a certain Manif. Well, the order in which the party members join is not random, but rather is determined by how much they linked with the protagonist, how much time they spent linked with the protagonist, which in this case is Milla. So I arranged it. Alvin never linked with Milla, so he comes last if he comes at all. And ideally want Rowan and Elise to come. That will happen. But first we have to start with Jude and Milla. Also, I'll probably use the hourglass in this fight.
Yes, I shall be the blade that leads you to victory.
Face them both.
It would be nearly impossible alone. However,
Right now, it's a good time since they're close to each other.
Now that I have Gaius, I have what you have. You won't
Okay,
stand a chance.
maybe not.
Let's see how long you're able to last against us.
Bad, we got confused.
Let's do this, Milla.
Right.
Not yet.
To join, so
Now, shall
we're safe.
I have arrived.
We were waiting for you.
I must say, it feels good when others rely upon you.
Truly a pity. Of all people, I expected you to at least follow the right path.
You expected too much from me. I am no different from everyone else here.
So be it. Your age won't matter when I strike you down.
I plan to see the future. I hate
If
to break
you're really lucky, you can actually kill them before Alvin even appears. Though I don't think that's gonna. Although I don't think that's gonna happen, and now it's definitely not happening.
Awaken! The Inferno cries out!
Really, this is another guaranteed one-shot Mystic card, and if your Link partner gets confused,
I can do
don't
this.
think we were, so I think we're fine.
Lock on target. Charge complete. Fire! It's gonna hurt. I roll. We made it. Hey, you guys still alive? I'll provide
So now we just revert to our normal strategy of Fireball, Undine, Red Wings. Also, Yuze gets an automatic auto life,
really do.
so she revives once when you kill her, so you actually have to kill her twice.
Don't want to lose these feelings. That's enough from you.
This is true power!
Oh, we might get the skip after all. So Leia's gonna come in, replace Jude as we want her to. And we're coming up on time here. After the results screen, after we kill the boss.
Alright. Sorry I'm late. Are you ever gonna stop worrying about me?
Someday. But now we can use your help.
Why do you fight against us when you know very well the instability of Spyrites?
It's simple. I'm living my life as I see fit. So what matters to me is being here with everyone.
Nice!
There's not
Got
much
the
else
skip.
to it. Is it over?
And time is after the results
No doubt
screen.
about it.
Victory's ours.
We did it!
Milla!
Yes, it's
Time.
finally over.
Maxwell!
Give her the GGs.
Once again, it's all gone. I've lost everything.
Your vision of the future offers nothing but suffering to the people, whether Spyrites are perfected or not. Even if we unite the two worlds, it is pure fantasy to think that they will cooperate with one another.
Maybe you're right. Maybe my dreams for the future are hopelessly naive. But still, Milla never stopped believing in me. And so did you, Gaius. Didn't you?
And what does any of that matter now?
I may appear to be talking tough now, but I was scared witless throughout this entire journey. I'm still just a small, frail human. But you know what? I will get stronger.
So that was Tales of Xillia, any percent Milla. I hope you all enjoyed the run, and I hope you enjoyed
Humans strive to become stronger.
fights. Thank you all for your donations.
To grow more for the sake of others. They rise to the occasion. This fills me with hope for the future, one that is filled with possibilities.
Thank you very much for the run.
I know you
Upcoming
understand.
next, we are going to have Magic Knight Rayearth by Shentalk.